Hello, my name is Darren Thomas and I'm the Director of Educational Research Techniques. In this video, we're going to be looking at how to solve linear inequalities or linear inequality equations, if you will. So why don't we go ahead and get started. So, a linear inequality is basically an equation that uses one of the following signs. It could be, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, or less than and equal to. That is kind of what makes it. So by inequality, we mean that it does not equal. The word in means in this particular situation not. So inequality means does not or not equal. Of course, as you know, a traditional equal sign means that the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the equation are the same. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to solve two different inequalities, if you will, and I'm going to show you how there's a small difference between the two depending on exactly what you're trying to do. So here's our first example. So you have the equation here, 16p plus 6 times 2p minus 24. All that is greater than 14p minus 56. All right, so the steps for solving this are just like the steps you will for a regular equation. You first, of course, you want to distribute here our little friend here, the 6. That's our first thing we want to do is we want to distribute this guy, and then we want to combine like terms and then try to eliminate things as much as possible so that we are able to isolate the variable. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to distribute this 6 here for these two things. And so you end up now with 16p plus 12p minus 144 is greater than 14. Oops, excuse me. Let me erase that. 14p minus 56. All right, so the first thing we did was we removed the parentheses. Now for our second step, we're going to combine the like terms. So in this situation for right now, we're going to combine the 16p and the 12p. Again, this is all the basic steps that you use for any equation problem. So now we're left with, 16p plus 12p is 28p minus 144 is greater than 14p minus 56. That's our step so far. Now the next thing we want to do is that we want to try to deal with our p's right now. We want to combine those. And so again, this is review of whatever you've done with an equation. A basic equation with an equal sign is we're going to subtract 14p from both sides. If I do this, I'm able to remove this 14p here because I'm subtracting it. Well, let me give you a different color there. That looks almost exactly the same. I'm able to remove. That's not much of a good color either. How about red? So we do red. Yeah. I'm able to remove this 14p on each side, or on this side, and then I subtract it. Whoops, let me put the negative sign there, and subtract it from over here. And so now I'm left with 14p minus 144 is greater than negative 56. All right, so now I still have a few steps to go. I want to deal with this 144 because I don't want to mess with the negative 56 because I want to have some values on that side. So what am I going to do? I'm going to add negative 144 to both sides. I'm going to add 144 to both sides. If I do that, it'll cancel out, as you can probably already tell, my minus 44. So I'm going to add here 144, add 144, and I'm running out of space, so I'm going to go to the next slide. And so now I have 14p greater than, and then when I add negative 56 to 144, I get the value of 88. So I'm getting close to being done here. The next thing that I want to do is now I want to, let me make this a little bit more straight here for you. I want to divide both sides now by, what do you call it? The value I want to divide it by is I want to divide it by 14. If I divide both sides by 14, I'm able to remove the 14, and I'm able to have left just my variable isolated by itself. So P now is going to equal, as you can probably tell, 88 over 14, but when I reduce that, I'll get 44 over 7. And you can check this if you want. So what we're saying here is that P, whatever it is, it has to be greater than 44 over 7. I believe 44 over 7 is about 6.2, 6.3 or so. So I think about 6.28 or so, I believe, is what I calculated earlier. So that's what the answer is. If you put this value in there, whatever you put in for P needs to be greater than, will be greater than 6.28. That's kind of how it works out. Now, that was a basic example. Notice how the mouth never moved. However, there is a time, what I mean by mouth, I'm talking about the greater than or the less than sign, this mouth right here. Let me give you a different color for that, for the terms of the mouth. What I mean by mouth is this guy right here. He never moved sides. However, if you divide or if you multiply by a negative number, the mouth will switch. If you remember from this example, we never did that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an example where you have to switch the mouth. This is a much simpler one, by the way, as well. So here I have 12y is less than or equal to 22y plus 34. This is my equation. So the first thing that I want to do in this particular situation is I want to subtract 22y from both sides. So by doing that, I'm able to isolate my positive 34. And so now I have negative 10y is less than or equal to 34. Now the next step is I want to now divide both sides by negative 10. But because I'm dividing by negative 10, I have to switch the direction of the mouth. So I divide now by negative 10, divide by negative 10, and so now I'm left with y, because these cancel each other out, they cancel out, is now greater than or equal to 34 over 10. You can reduce that to 17 over 5, so negative 17 over 5. So there you go. As you can see, this equation was much easier to solve. There was no distributing or any other techniques like that. However, because we divided by negative 10, we needed to switch the direction of the mouth from being less than to being greater than. So what this is telling us is that whatever value we have for y, it must be greater than negative 17 over 5, which I believe is about, negative 3 something point whatever decimals, if you will. So that's how solving inequalities works. It's just like solving equations, not that deep, but it does require being aware of which direction the mouth has to face when you're dealing with dividing and even sometimes multiplying by a negative number. So that is it for this particular video. We looked at how to deal with linear inequalities, which we're using the signs less than, greater than, or etc. My name is Darren Thomas. I'm the Director of Educational Research Techniques. Take care.